Hey everyone, and welcome back to the Travel Mug Podcast. As always, I am joined by my podcast buddy, Jen. How are you today?
I am doing well. I'm so excited to hear about your trip to Amsterdam because we are recording this. It's been over a month since you've been home, almost 2 months since you've been home, probably. And I still haven't really heard about it because we've been like saving it for the pod. So
I know I've avoided seeing you or speaking with you. No, we're just kidding. Yeah, we got home, I would say, yeah, about a month and a week ago. So it's been
yeah.
a bit. So finally, today I am going to dive into that trip, let you know what we did and saw and ate, plus give some tips and recommendations.
Yes, definitely. So let's dive in. Let's start at the very beginning. A very good place to start. Where do you recommend people, or where did you start planning your
Sure.
trip to Amsterdam?
Yeah, I think this is, even before you go anywhere, I think, we've talked about this before. Cities like this, there's so much to do in the city itself and the surrounding area. So I definitely suggest joining an Amsterdam travel group. I joined one on Facebook. They're very easy to find. It can be overwhelming in your news feed. I was happy to leave it. I'm not going to lie. When my trip was over, I'm like, farewell to you people. Good luck. But it did give me a lot of helpful information and also, of course, do lots of research about things that interest you and what you want to put on your itinerary. So, as an example, as we all know, we aren't huge museum people and may not have done the things that you'd like to do. But this is just an episode about what we did and saw, and hopefully it can give you a bit of an idea of what to expect at the very least.
Perfect. So, let's talk about your flights. How did you book those? What did you book? What airline did you book? What was your flight path like? Tell me all about the plane.
Now, yes, how did we get there? So, for the first time, we used RBC Avion reward points, so actual travel points.
Wow.
I know. And we took Air Canada for this trip. So only once prior have we used any type of reward mile. And that was Air Miles in 2010 when we went to Chicago. But this was the very first instance of using actual credit card points. The
Okay.
first thing I will say is if you think you have enough points, no, you don't. So let me you let me explain. So for Avron Rewards, the chart told us for 2 tickets to Europe from where we lived, Halifax, as we know, would be 65,000 points per person, so 130,000 points. Excellent. On the card, we had approximately 273,000 points, something like that. Like I can't remember the
Wow.
exact number. So I
Yeah.
was like, we're golden. Beautiful. No. I kid you not when I say taxes and fees took every single other point we had. And then we still had to pay $374 out of pocket.
Yikes.
Mhm. So
Ooh.
while it's not a scam, you know, it's not far off. So if you have just enough points to cover what the chart tells you, the flights will be covered, but it's gonna likely be double and then some. Fair warning. Like, you could actually use the points for your flights and then pay in taxes and fees what your original flights would have just cost you. Like,
Right.
it's pretty crazy, and I realize, of course, we're lucky and we only paid $374 to go to and from Amsterdam, but also not really. It took 8 years to amass those points and a lot of spending. And if you are someone who uses, like, let's say, a travel points card for your business, you likely are rolling in points. Like, you probably have a plethora of points, but as an average spender, it takes a long time to get to that point.
Mhm.
Now,
Yeah.
having said that, the flights were without incident. And when you fly, that's exactly what you want.
Yeah.
We had the privilege of using the AC lounges again, and we were able to use them on the way in Halifax and Montreal. Amsterdam didn't have one on the way back for us to utilize, and our connection in Toronto on the way back was too tight to use a lounge, but it was still a great benefit. Our luggage came out first. We were super grateful. So it all worked out as it was supposed to.
Yeah, that's really interesting about the points. I'm interested to, and I think we talked about this recently when we talked about you using your credit card travel insurance and talked about travel credit cards. But I'm interested to dive in a little bit more to that in the future and like, how do these people do this? Like, how does this work? Because like 8 years for one flight is not great ROI here. So, like, what are we doing wrong?
It really isn't, and I mean, we used that particular credit card for, like, a lot of things on purpose to amass the points, like, it wasn't just a casual use, it was actual directed use to that
Yeah,
one card, so it was pretty eye-opening, I mean, I'm grateful, but again, what?
I know. We need to find the guru to get them on here to teach us. So,
We do.
uh, so okay, you arrive in Amsterdam. Like, what time were your flights? And then I want to talk about getting around because you guys didn't rent a car this trip, which is completely out of the norm for you. Totally, it was something that I would do. So, how did you find that? Just different from your usual.
Yeah, no, good point. And yeah, we flew overnight, so we got there around 11 a.m. They are 5 hours ahead of our time zone. So we did arrive sleepy, yet we knew we were going to get the train again, which was way out of the norm for us from Schiphol Airport into Amsterdam proper, like to Central Station. And we actually did. Now, please buy a train ticket upstairs at Schiphol Airport before descending to get the train.
Okay.
We didn't because my travel group confused me. I'm not blaming anybody but myself, but I thought we could tap on and off the train. And like maybe we could have, but I didn't see the stanchion or the place to do it. And then the train was coming and we didn't have tickets. So like idiots, we just got on anyway.
Right.
Um, yeah, and then I just worried the entire trip, um, because then I realized that once we got to Central Station, we couldn't get out. You need to
Nice.
tap something to exit a train station. Anyway, we found staff at the exit at Central Station after a bit of being directed about, and they helped us, but it was stressful. So don't be like me, just buy your tickets upstairs at the airport. Like, just do it. Don't try to be cute. Anywho, the ride is very cheap, like 16 euros for two people one way. And like I
Okay.
said, it only takes about 20 minutes. You can't beat it. There's no way a cab could be cheaper than that.
Yeah.
So we then walked from Central Station to our Airbnb. It was about 15 minutes or so, and luckily we arrived around 1 p.m. We were able to get in and rest. So that was really fortunate after a long trip and being up so long. Our Airbnb was literally right in the red light district on a quieter street. I wouldn't call it quiet, but I would call it quieter. But it was the perfect location. If anybody does want the link, reach out on social media. I will definitely share it with you. Keep in mind where we stayed was for two people only, so it wouldn't be good for a family or more than two people. So overall, how we got around besides that initial train journey was trams, uh, train we did take again later, and the metro, all super affordable and on foot. We walked a lot. Other options include buses, bikes, cabs, Uber, and Bolt. So all of those things are available to you there. I'm not confident on a bike. I could maybe do it in the countryside, but after seeing people even for just 5 minutes riding around, I'm like, that is not for me.
That's
Not
fair.
for me.
Practice your biking before you go. Yeah.
Practice your biking and you're yelling at people, like, do those things and you might get ready, and practice without a helmet because they don't use those either.
Gotcha.
Mhm.
All right. So I want to hear all about the food. So we teased this in our Travel Tip Tuesday episode a few weeks ago. But what were some of your food highlights? And I think you ate out more often than you usually do on trips. So how did that feel?
I actually thought of several times, I'm like, "Jen would be so proud, like, that we're actually, like, eating in restaurants." Peter doesn't mind it, he just finds that after a while, it doesn't feel special anymore when you do it every single meal, and I don't disagree, you can get restaurant burnout. So
Oh,
we
for sure.
yeah, so we did have a little bit of food in our room, but mostly we actually did eat out and it definitely cost us. So keep that in mind as well. But yeah, we had some really great food. Literally, these are just a few highlights. Again, do some research on what works for you. A lot of places you need reservations, that kind of thing, but you can find that info online. A great breakfast spot we did not need reservations for, I would highly recommend was Ivy and Bros. It was right along the canal. Amazing, amazing food. One of the cool places that I'd heard about before we went, and I jotted it down because I didn't think it could be real, was Fibo. So it's like after bar food. It's a quick snack on the go where the food is prepared and it's in these little heated slots that look like mail slots. So you literally tap your watch if you have a smartwatch or your credit card. You push a button, the little flap comes down, and you reach in and you take out the food you paid for and you eat it. It's
What?
it's food that waits for you.
That's
You're
amazing.
It was and Peter loved it so much. He's a huge microwave fan, so for him, this was like a dream come true, and it really was cool. It's a lot of brown food, so I'd like to start there. Like, it's not you're not going there for a healthy snack.
Yeah,
Right after the bar, it is exactly what you want. And
yeah,
honestly, most things were 3 to 4 euros, so it was really easy. Usually, people sort of tapped 2 or 3 times and got few different options. It was actually for what it was enjoyable, and it was a fun, like, Jetsons experience that you felt we
yeah.
already would be having.
Amazing.
Now you can also order things like there's actual people that do work there as well, so you can order ice cream, fries, milkshakes, coffees, other drinks. Those are not in the slots.
No, gotcha.
You actually
That makes
talk to people for that stuff, especially the ice cream. Now, a couple of Italian restaurants we went to, I'm sure there's probably better, but again, unless I say otherwise, all of these were located in the red light district and within sort of walking distance from our place. A couple of were Azzurro and Mio. Both were really good Italian food. We went to a Korean restaurant called Kim So's. This place was actually recommended by a local we met in a bar somewhere. It was amazing food. A reservation is recommended, but for some reason, as usual, we somehow get lucky with these things. They had a table for us. It was all fine, but amazing Korean food. The grocery store there is Albert Heijn. So you can go there. There's one right in the red light district. You can get all your basics, which is where we got some of our breakfast that we didn't eat out.
right.
I referred to this place in a travel tip Tuesday a few weeks ago, but the Vondelstapele, I'm sure I'm not saying that right, but that's the cookie place. So, like I mentioned, there will be a lineup. There's only one type of cookie. But the line moves fast and it's worth the wait. We even got a decorative tin, brought some home. I'll never forget it. French fries with mayo are the thing to eat there. Again, really popular street food. You can find one of these spots on every street. So you're probably not going to go wrong no matter where you choose. I really enjoyed Friette Bourdeal and I had fries with parm and truffle mayo. Oh,
Yeah.
I'll remember those as well. Another place just for a quick burger, but was very enjoyable was Burger Bar. Sounds very basic, and it was highly, highly enjoyable. Some traditional food. So if you're looking to eat traditionally, there's of course stroopwafel, which most of us have heard of, which is two waffles that are very flat, and there's usually honey in between. They use it, dunk it in, they set it on top of their coffee, I believe, and it sort of moistens, and then they eat it.
Totally.
And then bitterballen is another one. So these are both traditional foods. Another is herring and pickles. So not you can get herring and pickles other places, but they actually sell them in like little street vendors on little like paper plates, and that's
Okay.
not for me.
Is the herring pickled or is it, like, cooked another
I
way?
don't really know, but it was
Okay,
served
okay,
with pickles, so it very
okay.
well could be pickled as well. I didn't get close enough to give that one a go.
I mean, that's fair. Yeah, that's it's not I don't eat fish, so but I was just asking for the people.
I love that, and I enjoy fish, and for some reason, I just couldn't get around to it, so I don't. Stroopwafel was actually a little bit too sweet for me. That makes me sound very
Oh,
old, but it's very true. But I did love bitterballen. So bitterballen literally is like a thick stew broth, and I know that's hard to imagine, but it's actually formed into a ball, so it's very thick, and then it's
Hmm,
breaded and, like, deep fried, and then you eat the stew ball, and it's got stewy stuff. Oh my goodness. I
interesting.
I loved it, so I definitely recommend that.
Mm,
We went to De Deli. It was near the Resistance Museum. Great little spot for sandwiches and lunch. And we had really amazing customer service there. I'll talk
good.
more about the customer service a little bit later, but it really stood out for me.
Mhm.
Another place for food is Albert Cup Market. Go hungry. There are so many food stalls to try food from all over the world. That's where I got my bitterball in. And they have all types of goods as well. I do want to mention the market is not open on Sundays.
Good to know.
Great quick takeout Asian cuisine. We went to Wok to Walk, so WOK to WALK. And then right there in the red light district as well, finally, we went to De Bekeerd Sister. Sure, I'm not saying that right. It was amazing schnitzel, and it's also a
Mm,
brew pub. There's fun outside seating where you can sort of watch the action as weather permits as well. So that was very enjoyable. So that kind of like covers the main food. I'm sure there's other things we did, but those are the standouts for me. I would say out of all of them, Ivy and Bros and Kim So's for the Korean food were my highlights. As far as bars, oh dear, like literally you can find it's like Halifax on steroids. You can find one every 20 paces or less. So we kind of found a couple we enjoyed and didn't stray too much further because otherwise it's sort of the same thing in each
yeah.
one. A couple that stood out was Rosalia's Menagerie. So it was really small, high end. You had to ring a doorbell to get in.
Ooh.
And they came to the door and they're like, either we're full up, you'll have to wait in line, or they let you in. And there was a rotating seasonal menu of high end cocktails there. Met a Canadian bartender named Mathieu from Quebec.
Ah,
Shout out to him. He and his family moved to Paris, and then he ended up in Amsterdam because his father was from France. Some people are just born into it, you know?
right.
Yes, and then Café de Krog Tiger, which actually has a giant tiger as their logo, very
Yeah.
reasonable drink prices, including wine, and it was actually more locals than tourists, which was very enjoyable in the red light district. You can also buy liquor in the grocery stores and convenience stores if you wanna have some in your room and save a few bucks, but wine was very cheap in the grocery store.
That makes sense.
Sure.
I do I'm gonna just to throw a curveball at you, but what time of year did you go, and then what was the weather like? Like, t how chilly was it?
It's a very good question. So we arrived, I think it was September 28th, and then we left, which was a Saturday, and we left the next Saturday, so October 5th. The Monday, Tuesday were rainy. Tuesday was a total washout, and we found indoor activities to do. There's,
Right.
like I'm about to mention, over 400 museums there. So you can find something to do. I would say temperature wise, maybe 10 to 14 Celsius. So
Okay.
a little bit chilly, you should definitely bring a sweater. We weren't cold, cold, of course, really cold and damp on the rainy days, but it was enjoyable fall weather, in my opinion.
Perfect.
Yep.
Alright, so now for the fun stuff. What did you do? What were some of the highlights?
Definitely. So in advance, we booked a canal cruise. So we did the ultimate cruise on Pure Boats. That was the company we selected. They had amazing reviews, and that was a 2 hour tour. A lot of them are 1 hour, and we just wanted to have a deeper experience. So that's why we chose that one. We had a great guide. Klaus was his name. And they had an open bar with snacks. So that was really great as well. It was about 65 or 70 euros per person, but for 2 hours with an open bar and a once in a lifetime thing, I'm assuming we're not gonna probably do that again. We booked it and highly, highly recommend Pure Boats. There are, like I just said, over 400 museums of all varieties. We enjoyed, the Strat Museum and the Resistance Museum. Resistance Museum was really poignant. It's a play. unlike a museum I'd been to before where it told of the stories of people throughout World War II that either helped the Nazis, resisted the Nazis, but also told the stories of the people who tried to live through that period and some of the more poignant ones that stood out. It was very enjoyable. As for the Strat Museum, so you can actually take a ferry from Central Station. All of their ferries are free, and you could take those to the other side. And that's where we visited that museum, which is a street art museum and a very huge old warehouse. Highly recommend. Something we also did on the rainy day in particular, which you could do in other parts of the world, but and I think it was actually here in Halifax, but we missed it, and that's the Body Worlds exhibit. Um,
Yeah.
it was slightly I felt a little sick to my stomach, I'm not gonna lie, pretty much the whole time.
Yeah.
I'm not good with that stuff, but I wanted to see it, like, I've never seen what the inside of my own body looks like, obviously, before, so to
Yeah.
see, like, my not me, but female parts or whatever it was, like, it
Yeah.
was fascinating, and I'm glad that we did it, but I was a little ill.
Yeah, it is I did it when it was here in Halifax, and I think if you are at all interested in anything medical or the human body, to go to it if it's in a city that's convenient for you, because it is really interesting. In my previous career as a massage therapist, of course, I learned all about the human body, and to actually, like, see those muscles was, really interesting. So,
Yeah,
yeah, not unique to Amsterdam per se, but, definitely an interesting exhibit if
yeah.
you have the chance to see it.
Yeah, it was 6 floors. I mean, they did an incredible job with it, and, yeah, so that was very, very interesting. Somewhere I'd recommend for some green space where we went was Vondel Park. Great park for bird watching. There were literal green parakeets flying all over the park. It was, the biggest one of the biggest highlights of the trip for me. I'm such a bird nerd, but, like, there were parakeets, and we have, like, the Merlin bird app, and I'm like, "Does that say parakeet?" And then we just saw them everywhere, and I talked to my friend who went to London, and she's like, they were in London as well, and I'm just like, I don't know, it just seemed odd to me, but I was there for it. Anyway, loved the parakeets. Another spot that we went to was Zal's Shawls, and I know I'm not saying that properly, so I do apologize, but we took the train from Central Station. It took about 25 minutes maybe. We did buy tickets, thanks for asking. And then you walk about 15 minutes from the station, and there you are, surrounded by actual Dutch windmills. It was really, really cool. There are some, of course, shops selling cheese and other exhibits. It's kinda touristy, I'm not gonna lie, but seeing the windmills was, like, one of our main goals, and I loved it, and you could also go by bus from Central Station, and you can also book a tour to do it as part of a group if that's your thing.
Right.
Albert Cup Market, which is in the Pipe area, which I recommend the Pipe area as a whole. I did mention this earlier in the food section, of course, but we did take a tram to it. And then we walked back to the red light district from there, which took us about 35 minutes or so to walk back. We just wanted to see more on foot than just sort of going
Mm.
by on the train. So not only is there a wide variety of food there, but lots of goods to peruse, as well as clothing, jewelry, trinkets, etc. So if a market sounds good to you, I definitely recommend that one. Lots of squares. Europe, as we know, loves a square. Dam Square and Lidas Plain were both really great for shopping, bars, restaurants, people watching. Rembrandt Square is small but peaceful, has two cool statues, including this statue, which is a version of the Thinker, but it's actually an astronaut.
Oh, cool.
I know. And then Anne Frank House. So prior to going to a concentration camp, of course, Anne spent years in Amsterdam, including a few years hiding from the Nazis. This is honestly a can't miss, in my opinion, especially in these times. We need to remember what history was and what it could be in the future if we're not careful. And it was very
Mhm.
surreal to walk through literally the very room where she wrote a lot of her diary. It was an experience I will never forget, and I held it together. I did so good holding it together until we got to the end, and you're no longer allowed to go into the attic because it's condemned up there, like, you're not so you're not also not supposed to touch anything, and the house has 0 furniture in it because her father wanted that to represent. It was looted, of course, once they were kicked out, and her father wanted to leave it that way to represent the absence of Anne. And so, at the end, you can see up the stairs into the attic, and there was, like, a quote on the wall about how Anne and Peter were in the attic, and they were able to look out the window and at least see the trees blowing in the wind or something. Anyway, I'm like, "And I'm done." It was very poignant and very, sad, but I'm so honored to have been there. The
Yeah.
last thing I will say is to walk around. So try to walk as much as possible if you are able to. Every corner is something new, a new place to visit, a new bar, a new view of the canals, interesting people and shops. Please explore. Every single time we walked somewhere, we found something we hadn't seen before just by taking a different turn. And I think that's why I loved Amsterdam so much. It's an exciting city, but it also has just so much to see, literally at every turn.
Yeah, that all that sounds so good. So, you mentioned earlier in the episode that you stayed in sort of a quieter area of the red light district. So, talk to me about like where you stayed, the place you stayed a little bit, and like would you recommend that area for people who are maybe planning their first trip to Amsterdam as well?
Yeah, so we stayed, like I said, right in the heart of De Wallen or De Wallen, which is the red light district, at an Airbnb, like a a quiet, quote unquote, street. There were no windows with ladies in them on our street. It was completely residential, so that made it quieter. So while people
Gotcha.
did walk through as like a thoroughfare, you could still hear some street noise. But honestly, considering it was very quiet and our Airbnb provided a fan for, like, white noise, so that really
Mhm.
helped as well. The reason there's an Airbnb right in the center of town, which I know is very controversial, of course, in these days as well, the owners actually live there. It is, I'm assuming, their home from top to bottom, and then they've turned the floors into Airbnbs, and we stayed on the 3rd floor. There were steep and winding stairs, and that is a huge thing in older homes in Amsterdam. Like, it was terrifying, and I was sure the night before we left, like, I pondered my death that was going to occur the next morning with my luggage going down those stairs. It's so hard to describe. They actually can't even get furniture up the stairs. The windows have to be taken out, and they use a hoist to bring furniture up because it won't go up the stairs.
No thanks.
I know. You have to keep that in mind if you're not booking a traditional hotel.
Yeah.
Amsterdam is not cheap for accommodations. I will say this. So a lot of people in the travel group I was a part of seemed to be choosing spots to stay that were a few tram or train stops away from the heart of the city. There were also hostels and other cheaper options as well in a variety of locations and distances from the red light district. I'm not a big fan of doing this if we don't have to, because I like
Yeah.
to go out in the morning, do some exploring, and then come back and chill for a bit and then go back out. And if we have to take a train back to our place, that makes me very sad. So we do try to avoid that. It's not always possible to do that. So I really do think it's gonna be whatever your comfort level is, whatever your budget is, because again, it's not cheap. And then really just consider how you're going to get to and from every single day and where you actually wanna go. That's a very personal choice when it comes to this kind of situation with trains and trams and whatnot.
Yeah, I mean, that kind of just goes back to our general advice about choosing a place to stay, right? Like, are you okay with that trade-off of staying in a cheaper place, but having to take a train or whatever into the areas that you wanna hang out in? So, it's definitely a trade-off.
Yeah, I completely agree. And if I don't have to make it, I'm not going to.
I same.
Yeah, exactly. But again, everybody's budgets or likes are different. So
Yeah,
no, I do want to take a moment and talk about the use of cannabis and the red light district. It's really not something we can sort of skip over when it comes to Amsterdam, I don't think. I do want to mention it isn't legal to smoke weed on the streets near and in the red light district as of 2023. They actually had a campaign going toward young Britons to try to keep them away from Amsterdam. And that is one of lots of bachelor parties, I believe. And I think this is one of the things they are trying to utilize to sort of make that happen. People still do it, but it isn't legal. But just so you're aware, so you don't break the law yourself, there are lots of shops you can go into and smoke weed or buy other items related to, such as edibles. So there's fun to be had if that's your thing, but just make sure you, not being from that country, I guess even if you are really, just make sure you're following the laws.
Gotcha.
As for the sex workers, my biggest advice is be respectful. In Amsterdam, it is legal. And we read online that they actually register with the Chamber of Commerce. They have their own doctors, they have their own security, and people come from all over the world to work there because of those safe conditions. We did notice women in the windows as early as 9:30 or 10 a.m. and then there as late, as 2 a.m., maybe later. Honestly, I wasn't out that late, but this is what I've heard. I was in bed
Yeah.
before that.
Right.
Um, Now, walking through the red light district is an experience unto itself, and it's like an unlike anywhere else. You can research more online about proper etiquette, and if you wish to partake in their services, like how you go about doing that process. We saw a lot of that happening as well, and I say fill your boots. This is a no judgment zone from me. And there's also opportunities as well to attend live sex shows. There's peep shows. Honestly, I have no idea why Las Vegas is called Sin City. Like, have you been to Amsterdam? Because Las Vegas to me is kind of like, don't get me wrong, it has obviously the reasons why people go, but it's kind of funny to me now that I've been to Amsterdam. I'm like, you think you're Sin City? I don't
Yeah.
think so. But that's just me. So I thought it was important to talk about that stuff because that is a big part of the
Yeah,
city itself.
absolutely. Yeah, super important. So, to kind of like sum it all up together, can you provide some tips for people who are planning their first trip to Amsterdam? I know that I'm thinking about it now because it sounds very fun.
It was the best time, and like I mentioned earlier, first tip, take the train to and from the airport. I say this because it's actually gonna save you money and you will be able to get your luggage on and off easily. So many people use this option, so the trains are built for it. The train station literally is in downstairs in the airport. It couldn't be more convenient for you. I know if large groups, etcetera, it may not work out, but if you are able, take the option, save yourself some money, and likely not getting stuck in traffic.
Yeah. Yeah.
I also recommend, as tip number 2 is take the trams throughout the city. We've talked about this before. It can be very intimidating in new cities to take their public transport, and it's me as well. Like, I'm always intimidated, but one day we were out, we're like, "Let's just do it." I felt like such a superhero. And Google Maps can actually guide you to the tram station that you need to get to, and it gives you the number or the name of the tram that you're actually wanting to get on based on your destination. And it's actually super reasonable in terms of price, which is around 2 to 4 euros per journey, depending on how far you go. The way that they calculate that is you do tap on when you get on using your credit card or your smartwatch. I knew I was right about some kind of tap on, tap off. And then you tap off when you get off, and that calculates how much you're charged. There are
Yeah.
people actually sitting in booths on every tram, so you can actually buy a city pass from them when you get on the tram if you know you're gonna be using a lot, because 'cause I'm sure it has some savings.
Right.
Keep in mind, coffee shops are not for coffee, they are for smoking weed. Cafes are often in the name of bars. So it's confusing for actual coffee. We just really had to look in the window. It was confusing. So you just need to know for sure which you would actually like to get
Right. Yeah.
and go to the right place. So just keep that in mind. So not only is it not legal to smoke weed in the streets, it's also not legal to drink alcohol while walking around the streets of Amsterdam.
Good to know.
I know. It seems like a place where you'd just be able to do it all, but
Yeah.
sadly, you can't. Most places take card, but a few take cash only, such as markets. So do have some cash on hand. You don't need to have a ton. However, some bars and food stalls had signs that said cash is king. So that did tell us that a lot of places would prefer it if you got it.
Mhm. I mean, I feel like that's all over the world. Like,
Definitely.
cash, you're avoiding all of those credit card fees that, that affect the small businesses, so if you can, do.
100%.
Yeah.
Don't take pictures of the sex workers. Like I mentioned earlier, be respectful, but not only that, there is a fine of 140 euros if you are caught.
Mm. Yes.
Yes. Also, get out of the city at least once. Go if you're looking to have an Amsterdam only vacation, I still recommend to go to a nearby town via public transportation such as Haarlem or Jordan or the windmills that we went to earlier. I highly recommend sort of just getting out of the city.
Mm.
Um, Next tip is don't rent a car if you're staying in Amsterdam. It just isn't necessary and there's no parking. We saw some very small cars parallel park alongside the canal with no guardrails, and I think my heart might have actually stopped. It was just terrifying watching that occur. My opinion, stay in the middle of it all if you can find something in your price range. This is going to depend on the purpose of your trip, preference, and budget, but we loved walking out of our Airbnb and being right in the thick of it. Keep in mind it's a busy and loud area, so read reviews in advance if you choose to stay in that area. Trust what the majority says. Be mindful of bikes and other pedestrians, trams, and cars. All the vehicles, all the time, I swear to God, but
Yeah.
especially bikes. Like I said, no one wears helmets and they go very fast and it can be frightening. And they usually have no mercy because I'm sure they are tired of weaving in and out of tourists. So
Yeah.
they ain't got no time for you. Um,
No.
so really be careful of bike lanes.
Mm.
Back to Anne Frank. If you want to visit Anne Frank House, you need to, or should, if you'd like to actually go, book your tickets online in advance 6 weeks out.
Okay.
So the Tuesday of the week that is 6 weeks back from when you're going, um, I get up at 5 o'clock in the morning to book them because the booking opened at 10 a.m. Amsterdam time.
Right.
They also do release some tickets from what I understand a few weeks in advance, but they can be harder to get. I
Right.
also recommend doing the introductory program portion as well. Don't just visit the house. It is an in-depth session where you learn more about life in the house and Anne and her family. Before seeing the house itself, it kind of brings it home a little bit more and really
Mhm.
makes it full circle. And as of this recording, the cost is for the whole program 23 euros per person.
Okay.
Tipping, while not emphasized, is still very much appreciated, even if it's just 5%. Cash can be good for that as well because a lot of their machine, they don't assume the tip. And a lot of their machines, once it's in there, doesn't actually give you an option for a tip.
Right.
So just keep that in mind. If you'd like to give them a tip, maybe let them know before they tally that up. We've mentioned this before, but we faced this quite a few times when a debit machine or an ATM prompts you to pay in local currency or convert to your own. Always pay in local. And then finally, don't be surprised if service staff aren't overtly friendly as you're used to. They're not being rude. It's literally just a cultural thing. So don't be surprised if you're not getting the same, service that Canadian servers, as an example, provide. Again, it's not rude, it's just different. You're somewhere else in the world.
Hmm. Good to know. And all of those are amazing tips. So thank you for sharing all of those things. And oh, now I want to go to Amsterdam.
Add it to your list, sister. Yeah, so I mean, really sum it up, overall Amsterdam has moved up on my list as maybe my favorite city so far, which is a big, bold statement. I had an amazing time. I was very sad to leave. It was fun and exciting with so much history, so much to do. You would love the museum culture, I know. And I just highly recommend it overall.
Yeah. I mean, I'm gonna start looking at flights. I'm not gonna lie to you.
Very
So
cool.
that is it for this week's episodes. Definitely watch our social media channels over the next few weeks. Megan will be sharing a ton of pictures of Amsterdam and the things that they did. Thank you so much for listening. If you enjoy our show, if you enjoy what we're doing here, you can let us know by leaving us a review on Apple Podcast or Spotify. You can also support
We'd love for you
support
to
the show.
support the show.
Please support the show through buy me a coffee. The link is in the show notes. And you can find us, of course, on social media. We're at Travel Mug Podcast and on our website, travelmugpodcast.com. And until next time, bye.
Bye, everyone.